one team. One dream. One fan.
30, 20, 10, touchdown Miami! 1, 2, 3, go!
Hello, Miami Dolphins fans. How are you today? And thank you for listening to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast on this Tuesday, February the 24th. I am your host, Mike Oliva, flying solo today, as we got a lot to talk about here in the world of the Miami Dolphins, as the NFL Scouting Combine is just about to begin. Everyone's sort of getting in town. And today, John Eric Sullivan, the Miami Dolphins general manager, Jeff Hafley, the Miami Dolphins head coach, actually had their press conferences. And they spoke to the media. They answered a lot of questions, and they shed a lot of light on their plans here for this offseason, what's going to be happening. So great to see that. And we got a lot to talk about there. Going to recap both of their press conferences and go over what they said, as they did. They were very honest. They were very open. They didn't really tap dance around. I mean, there's one question they kind of tap dance around, mainly John Eric Sullivan. But other than that, they're very open and honest with their plans, what they're going to do, what they want to do. And we're going to talk about all that on today's show. Before we get to that, though, let's get the business stuff out of the way first. This show is brought to you by Caneswear. Everyone go to caneswear.com for the best and most affordable Miami Dolphins apparel on the internet. They also ship internationally as well. Caneswear.com is you covered. If you need a Miami Dolphins hat, hoodie, t-shirt, sweatpants, something for the home, something for the office, something for the car, you name it, Caneswear.com has you covered. Everyone go to Caneswear.com. They got stuff for the Miami Hurricanes, Florida Panthers, the Miami Marlins, whose season's going to be starting up real soon, the Miami Heat. Check before you go to any other websites, some of the larger websites, go to Caneswear.com, as they really do take care of you the best there. Also, a shout out to everyone watching us live at the I Am a Miami Dolphins fan Facebook page, run by the great and talented Carlos Hernandez. If you're on Facebook, please be sure you are a part of the I Am a Miami Dolphins fan Facebook page. And also, if you're watching us right now live on YouTube, or even after the fact on YouTube, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the alert bell. And if you're watching me live, super chats are open. Leave me a super chat, and I will read it on the air before the end of the show, whether it's a comment, a question. Tell me something you like. Tell me something that you don't agree with I said. Tell me something that you do agree with what I said, or a topic you want me to discuss. So super chats are open here on YouTube. All right. So it's Combine Week, and all the GMs and head coaches have press conferences either today or tomorrow. They're all scheduled at all different times. And the Miami Dolphins people had theirs today. John Eric Sullivan went first. Hafley went after. If you're saying to yourself, Mike, I don't remember this. I don't remember, Chris Grier having press conferences and stuff, because our last GM, Chris Grier, was a coward, and he refused to do this press conference every year. Most years, Chris Grier, not even most, damn near every year, Chris Grier wouldn't do the press conference that 31 other general managers would do. He would only meet with local media on the side. And last year, he didn't even do that. He only met with a couple select local media people that he knew probably wouldn't grill him too hard or anything. So this is kind of refreshing that we have a general manager who's willing to, have a press conference, just answer basic, simple, general questions, because the last guy was a coward. So John Eric Sullivan, spoke to the press. And also, it was also refreshing to hear Jeff Hafley have his press conference. Since I'm throwing dirt on the grave of Chris Grier, might as well throw some dirt on the grave of Mike McDaniel. Because when Mike McDaniel, he would do this press conference every year, but he was working out his Henny Youngman routine and was just trying to win over the room and get laughs. And so it was very refreshing this year to hear, Jeff Hafley just answer questions like a head coach would. Like, no jokes, not trying to, make friends, not trying to make people laugh. So this was very refreshing today, just seeing this. And I know doesn't mean they're going to be great in their jobs. I don't know. But just the fact that we have normal people in these roles was very refreshing. Let's start here with John Eric Sullivan. And, he was asked a ton of questions. And he went over a lot. So let's just do In no special order, some of the stuff that he said. John Eric Sullivan said he wants to build a sustainable foundation and he does not want quick fixes. Excuse me. And he also said he wants to add some big wide receivers to the wide receiver room. He did point out something we all know, that the Miami Dolphins have a bunch of 5'9" wide receivers. 5'9" or smaller. The wide receiver room is too small, and he wants to add some size to that wide receiver room. So in this draft, when some of the wide receivers who might be in play for the Dolphins, the one thing we're going to have to start to factor in is which ones aren't the little guys. Now, that doesn't mean you won't take a little guy, but I know there was a mock draft, I think it was PFF or NBC, I can't remember. There's been so many, where they had Miami taking the wide receiver out of USC in round 1, Lemon, who's great. I mean, he's awesome. And that's actually not even a horrible pick if they took him at 11, but he's on the smaller side. So after what John Eric Sullivan said today, either he's laying out the smoke screens, or, which I don't think he is, because it's not worth it for a wide receiver there. He's just being honest. Look, we got the small guys. Now we got to get some size there. Regarding free agency, John Eric Sullivan, overall, the theme was we want to build this through the draft. We want more picks, and we want our own guys. He goes in free agency. He goes, he wants to add a role player or two. Let me say that again. When free agency starts here on March 9th or March 11th, all depending on the legal tamperings, the 9th, free agency is on the 11th. He'll sign guys, but don't expect him to go big game hunting. I mean, maybe outside of quarterback, which we'll talk about in a second. It's going to be, role players. And that's what they're going to sign. They're going to sign younger guys who are role players who fill a specific need. And they're not going to go big game hunting here. So he said that. He said that Miami needs more picks. And he is likely to trade down rather than trade up in any round this year. So I really think at pick 11, unless there's someone there that they're in love with, I would not be shocked if he trades back to if he can, obviously, because it takes 2 teams to trade. If you can trade back to 14, 15, 16 and pick up another third or a fourth, I could totally see that happening. I actually kind of expect it. In round 2 at pick number 43, I even expect it more there. Because once you get into that round, you're less in love with one specific guy, and there's a grouping of guys. So expect John Eric Sullivan to be wheeling and dealing here draft weekend as they look to get more picks. John Eric Sullivan said that Miami is listening to trade offers for Minkah Fitzpatrick, and everything is on the table regarding Minkah. To me, when a general manager says that at a press conference, that's the sign that Minkah's played his final game with the Miami Dolphins. You don't need to be Scooby-Doo to solve this mystery. They're going to trade Minkah. Again, he wants more draft picks. Minkah has a very tradable contract, no guaranteed money this year. It's not a ton of money. And for a team that thinks they have a chance to contend, I think, they would give up, probably a fourth. You can fight for a third, but probably a fourth. Or maybe you give up Minkah and a fourth. You get a third and a fifth. You get a little creative or something like that. But I think Minkah's played his last game with the Miami Dolphins. Sullivan was asked about Achane and Waddle, and he said both Achane and Waddle are important parts of this franchise, but they will listen to trade offers for both players. He said they are not actively shopping either player, and the plan is for both to stay in Miami. This sounds very much like what Miami was saying back in the day. Not these people, with Laramie Tunsil. We don't want to trade Laramie Tunsil, but we'll listen to offers, and if one comes in, that's great. Well, we'll trade him. And that's kind of what John Eric Sullivan is saying here, reading between the lines, that, we don't want to trade them. They're part of our future. We're not trying to trade them, but we'll listen to trade offers if someone wants them. Here's the deal. If you have no intention to trade them, you say, we aren't trading them, period, point blank. You just end the conversation. The fact he said, we will listen to trade offers for both players, lets me know that door is open. And if you blow them away with an offer, you can have either one. As I've said on the show yesterday and stuff with Doug, that, Waddle's contract's a little tougher to trade. I might have to be a post-June 1st trade type of deal because how the contract is structured. Might be for 2027 picks. Fine. The Achane one's easy to trade. He's in the final year of his rookie deal. He makes very little money. So any team can absorb that. It's just about having the compensation be right. And I think it needs to be a first-round pick. Or a second and more, like a second and a fourth, or a second this year and a third next year. I think either one of, He's saying it. We're listening to offers. So yeah, people, I know some fans just like to focus on he's not shopping and the plan is for them, each to be here. And that's fine if you just want to hyper focus on that one aspect of his comment, but you can't ignore that they're listening to trade offers for both. Again, unlikely that they're traded. I think Waddle might be traded in November at the trade deadline when his value will be at the highest. And I don't think they'll trade Achane. They might also play hardball with Achane. You're going to hold out? Hold out. You're going to hold out all training camp? Hold out all training camp. Why? Because you're going to have to show up eventually. And when you do, after this season, we'll franchise tag you. They might not make the same mistakes that Chris Greer made of panicking and overpaying guys because they're threatening to hold out. I would not be stunned if they play hardball here with Achane because they know they got the franchise tag in their back pocket. So we'll see. That's a long way to go, obviously. John Eric Sullivan said he's having conversations with Austin Jackson and his people, meaning his agents, and they would like to work things out here. Now, if you're saying, well, he's under contract. Yeah, well, that don't mean nothing. Sullivan said, when you look at our roster, we don't have the flexibility to run people out the door right now, meaning they can't get rid of everyone. They're getting rid of the quarterback. They got rid of Chubb, Tyreek, James Daniels. They got rid of Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. They're about to get rid of Minka. Like, they're getting rid of a lot of guys. They can't get rid of everyone. So I think with Austin Jackson, his answer to me was code. Like, we want him to restructure his contract because the last guy overpaid him. And plus, he's always hurting never on the field. So I wouldn't be shocked if we see Austin Jackson, if they tried to force his hand to restructure. Now, look, Austin Jackson and his agent do not have to say yes to that. They could say, nope, this is what we're making. You either pay it or you cut me. And they can play hardball. It works both ways. But if Austin Jackson's smart with all of his injury histories, he might want to play ball here with John Eric Sullivan and restructure his deal here to ensure maybe the next year or two he will be in Miami. We're going to see. But it sounds like they don't want to cut him. It makes me sad because I don't want the guy anywhere around this team. But they might be looking to restructure him. Sullivan was asked about the releases of Tyreek Hill and Chubb. He said we need to get younger and cheaper, which not a shock there. And when he was asked about Hill specifically, he said, well, the age and the injury concern were a big deal. So not really a shock there. Sullivan said he wants to get to a healthy cap situation. That's kind of what they're doing with this scorched earth mentality here with this roster. And when he was asked about Darren Waller, it sounds like Waller's time in Miami's over, but Waller's time in the NFL is not. Sullivan said Waller wants to play this upcoming season in the NFL, but Sullivan then said in the next breath, it probably doesn't make a lot of sense for Miami at this time. Yeah, Waller, Chubb, Tyreek, older guys make a lot of money or make enough money where it's not worth it anymore. They miss time. Waller's not a fit. Waller's not a fit. He's just not a fit. So Waller might play next year, but it won't be for the Miami Dolphins. It sounds like. All right, let's get to the quarterback stuff. I just saved this all for the end because it all runs into each other, and this is what everyone wants to hear about anyways. First off, John Eric Sullivan said that the Miami Dolphins will draft a quarterback this year. Now, he didn't say like if it'll be like late in the draft or middle of the draft or the early part of the draft. He's just saying when that weekend's over, that Thursday, Friday, Saturday, the Miami Dolphins are going to draft a quarterback. So be prepared for them taking a quarterback at some point over those 3 days. When asked about Tua, he said everything is on the table. It could go a lot of different ways. A trade is a possibility. Tua is aware. His representation is aware. He then said that taking the $99.2 million cap hit in 1 year would be difficult to work financially. So let's read between the lines once again. Sounds like they still want to trade Tua. And I'm going to talk about a report from Jonathan Jones that came out today about that. But if they can't trade him, it's going to be a post-June 1st cut. They're not going to take all $99 million this year. And he did answer someone else's question saying it's not impossible to do. It's just unlikely because it does really tie their hands in a lot of ways. He said Tua and his representation have told him that he wants to play this year, but Tua has not requested a trade. Okay, so that's the Tua talk. Now that leads into the Malik Willis talk. And this is where I saw a lot of Dolphins fans, all Dolphins fans right now on February 24th have a strong opinion on Malik Willis. Some don't want him at all and think it's the worst thought in the world, and some want him because they think, he'd be a nice addition to this team. And the answer, and how John Eric Sullivan, this is the one question he kind of tap danced around, I thought, which is fine. That's his job. And I saw a lot of fans just, push their narrative, push their agenda, and twist John Eric Sullivan's answer here to make it feel how they want this to play out. So let me just get to it. When asked about Malik Willis, John Eric Sullivan said, have we had conversations about Malik? I think anybody that is potentially in the quarterback market would be lying to you if they said they are not. My job is to infuse competition into that quarterback room, whether it's Malik or another free agent or through the draft. He went on to say Malik Willis is a very good kid. He wishes Malik the best and that he likes Malik as a human being and that he's a great kid. Now, a lot of Dolphins fans are spinning this, saying, well, he wished him the best, which means Miami's not interested, because if you're interested, why would you wish him the best? No, that's John Eric Sullivan being a professional and saying nice things about a professional player, not throwing him under the bus. I think so many Miami Dolphins fans are so broken from the Chris Greer era, they aren't used to a GM playing his cards close to his vest. I have no earthly idea if the Miami Dolphins will sign Malik Willis or make a serious offer to get him. But I wouldn't say it's not happening based on what John Eric Sullivan said today. I will say it seems unlikely to happen, but I'm not saying it's 100% not going to happen. And anyone who is saying, whether it's someone in the media, national or local, or someone who's a podcaster or a blogger, whoever you get your news from, saying it's 100% not happening because of how John Eric Sullivan answered that question today, they are a bad faith actor, they are a grifter, and they are pushing their own agenda. We do not know if the Miami Dolphins will sign Willis. I will say it seems unlikely, but John Eric Sullivan, by just wishing him the best, does not mean he's writing him off and it's not happening. And anyone who tells you that is just a liar. So that's pretty much everything John Eric Sullivan said. Again, no Waller, wants to get larger at the wide receiver room, get some taller guys there. Trying to trade Tua, if not, seems like a post-June first cut. What else? He said no quick fixes. He wants to build a sustainable foundation. Trying to trade Minka, Etienne and Waddle. Not trying to trade him. Don't want to trade him, but we're going to listen to offers. There's that. Austin Jackson, sounds like they're trying to restructure him if they can. And, yeah, that's pretty much a quick recap of what John Eric Sullivan said. Now, before we get to the Jeff Hafley part, quick shout out to everyone listening at finheaven.com. Everyone go to finheaven.com, largest Miami Dolphins message board on the internet. Also, wherever you're listening to this podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Podbean, Podchaser, iHeartRadio, or YouTube, subscribe. We're going to have shows most days this week. I got a special, I'm going to have a guest on Thursday. Wednesday, Fish Tank Live, Seth Levitt, OJ McDuffie, and the gang will be live Wednesday night here on the Dolphins Talk YouTube channel. Thursday, I have a special guest, and we're going to have you covered all through the combine. If any news breaks, any rumors, we'll be here. And then next week, more of the same. I'm working on some guests for next week. So wherever you listen, make sure you subscribe. If you're on YouTube, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the alert bell. And as I'm live right now, if you're with me, send in a super chat. I'll read it on the air before the end of the show. All right, now the Sullivan press conference was really informative, and he gave a lot of great information. The Hafley one was good, but he didn't give as much information because, he's the head coach, and he's only going to talk about, his thoughts, who's on the team now. He's not going to, tell you the vision for the draft and stuff or who's staying, who's going. So Hafley's wasn't, as newsworthy, but it was really good. Jeff Hafley said regarding his defense, he would like to have a variety of 3-down and 4-down lineman formations, but with the same personnel that's able to flip on who can flip between those fronts. So he doesn't want, certain guys are just 4-down players, certain guys are just 3-down players. He wants guys who can play both a 3-man front and a 4-man front without having to leave the field. Guys who are, flexible, and guys who are interchangeable, all depending on the scheme they want to run play to play. When he was asked about Bobby Slowick, Hafley said that Slowick hit a home run during the interview process and that he trusts him as a person, which is big for him. So that's why Slowick was promoted to offensive coordinator. And then this one was also very interesting as well, because this guy's got a bad reputation. Well, he's got one right now that's bad, and I don't understand why. Kevin Patullo, who was the Eagles offensive coordinator last year, Hafley said he was blown away by Patullo in the interview process, to the point after he met with him, he went to Slowick and said, we just need to find a way to hire him because this guy's too good. And I know the Eagles offense last year wasn't great, but as I always say, you got to be careful just blaming one coach. You got to be careful just blaming a coordinator. Yeah, I'm sure he had his part of the blame for why things didn't go as well as they wanted to with the Eagles. But again, you got a quarterback making a lot of money. You got A.J. Brown, seems like a pain in the ass. You got there's a lot of factors there, and to blame everything on one guy, Kevin Patullo, is probably just unfair. And plus, A, he's not the offensive coordinator in Miami. B, he's a passing game coordinator. And C, when he was in that role with the Eagles, they went to 2 Super Bowls and they won 1. So in the role he's in Miami that he had with the Eagles, they won Super Bowls. So everyone who just piling on this guy, it seems a bit unfair and a bit harsh. And apparently he had a great interview to where the point was Hafley, like, we just need to find a way to have him be part of the staff. And they did. And I love this next answer. When Hafley was asked about the culture he wants in Miami, this is probably the best answer I've ever heard a coach ever answer this question. Hafley goes, the culture he wants to build is that playing hard isn't good enough. I want to win. That's the name of the game. That's why they got those big jumbo scoreboards on there where they keep score. It's about winning and losing points. Playing hard's great, but at the end of the day, everyone's judged on winning and losing. Playing hard should not be something that's like people get extra credit for. Playing hard should be built in. We're all going to play hard all the time. Winning is what matters. So I love that quote. I love that answer from Jeff Hafley. Regarding this was an interesting question. Hafley was asked about his time in San Francisco and what he learned there. Now, he was in San Francisco a little bit ago, wasn't all that recently. And he had an answer, though. Hafley said what he learned in San Francisco was how to have the power structure and leadership sort of lined up and aligned. And he would like to emulate that model in Miami. So, yeah, he's taking stuff that he learned from the Packers, but also his time in San Francisco also shaped him as a coach, and he knows what he learned there, and he's sort of going to try to emulate that, rebuild that in Miami. So I thought that was an interesting question, one, to ask him, and two, once again, great answer. Hafley said in year 1, it's going to be about the process and building the foundation, which is, code for we might not win a lot of games because we're going to have a young roster, but it's about the process. This is how we do things here. Everyone show up. No one's showing up late for meetings. This is how we do our practices. This is how we run on Monday. It's how we run on Tuesday. This is what we do on Wednesday. It's about installing that process and also building the foundation of this team, hopefully with some younger guys. So that's what that's what year 1 for him is really about. He was also asked about, obviously, Malik Willis. Hafley said he always did a great job and he gave us everything he had. And because Willis was the scout team quarterback in Green Bay, Hafley had to remind him at times not to scramble when the Packers were preparing to play a team that had a pocket quarterback. So that was kind of cute and funny there. Hafley said regarding the edge rusher position in Miami, which is right now Chop Robinson and nobody else, he goes, yeah, we need to fill up that room. And I'm sure a defensive coordinator at heart, a coach on that side of the ball at heart, wants to get edge rushers in the worst way because you can never have enough of them. And right now we don't have any pretty much. So, yeah, that was like, yeah, that's a no-brainer. We need to fill up that edge rush room because we got nothing. And Hafley said that he has had, how the process played out when he was interviewing with all those teams. So he was asked about that process. He said after the Packers lost their playoff game, he did 6 head coach interviews in 5 days, all from his office in Green Bay. And he said, he was asked why the Miami job was attractive to him. And it's pretty much what we heard already. He said it was attractive to him because of the alignment with the general manager and head coach, kind of all having the same vision, all being on the same page. So that's really cool there. But yeah, 6 head coach interviews in 5 days, all from the same office. That lets you know how highly thought of he was. And again, The Tennessee Titans were dying to get him into Tennessee, but he signed with us before that. There was also the Raiders who were really hot on his tail. So there was a lot of teams who had, put it this way, if he didn't get the Miami job, someone was hiring Jeff Hafley. Okay, as we wrap up, let me talk about that report. NFL insider Jonathan Jones, who one of the best in the business for CBS Sports. He put out a report today from the Combine saying that it is unlikely the Miami Dolphins will be able to trade Tua Tagovailoa. Even if they throw in a draft pick to try to sweeten, even if they pay down the contract and throw in a pick in round 4 to make it enticing for a team to trade for him, he goes, it's unlikely the Miami Dolphins will be able to trade Tua Tagovailoa, and that the most realistic option is Tua will be released with a post-June 1st cut, and which is kind of what John Eric Sullivan said too. Like, if we can't trade him, yeah, we're not going to take the $99 million cap hit this year. Not that we can't just – he said something like that math won't math. So it sounds like no one's going to trade for Tua no matter what. And he said it's and he said it's really how the league thinks of it at this time, because why trade for that? Even if Miami pays down like 70% of the contract, well, you're still paying 30% of that contract. When just wait for Miami to release him, and then you can sign them for the vet minimum, which is going to be far less. So Miami can pay down 70%, 80%. They can pay down a ton. They can throw in a pick in round 4. It's like, why am I going to take on however much with that contract when they have to cut them, and I can just get them for the vet minimum of like whatever, 1 point something million. Wow. So he's like, yeah, they're trying to trade him. They're talking to see if someone out there might do it, but the consensus around the league is no one going to trade for him. He goes, releasing Tua with a post-June 1st designation is the option nearly everyone in the league anticipates. So yeah, everyone's like, yeah, thanks for the phone call. We ain't trading for him because they're just going to wait for Miami to cut him, and that's it. So yeah, busy news day with the Tua press conference. Now, the drills start on Thursday, so tomorrow's going to be quiet because these guys met with the press. Also, Sullivan and Hafley sat down for 20 minutes with Rich Eisen. If you want to see that video, it's up at DolphinsTalk.com. Hafley by himself did about 12 minutes with Mike Florio. I got that video up on my Twitter account at Dolphins Talk. 2 great interviews. The Rich Eisen one is probably must see. 20 minutes of great stuff. You should check that out. And the Mike Florio one's also really good. And I got to give Mike Florio credit. I know Mike Florio is sometimes not the most popular guy. Mike Florio, at the end of his at the end of his interview, said this to John Eric Sullivan. He goes, you have to go into Mr. Stephen Ross's office and tell him that you need to go back to the old throwback logo, that this new logo ain't working for you, and the throwback logo is better. Hafley kind of laughed like, you're not serious. And Mike Florio says, no, I'm serious. So Mike Florio is one of us who not a big fan of the new logo, wants the old school throwback logo. Mike Florio, thank you for preaching the good word. We speak your name. So yeah, check that out there as well. We got a bunch of articles up. We got a bunch of new commentary up on the website from Jason. Who else put something up recently? Let me give everyone their flowers. Jason, Jackson, Carlos put something up. Ryan Van Hoover, he got something up in the past few days. Julian's got something up on the news of the Miami Dolphins hiring Robinson as the senior executive of personnel. Chris Oliver's got something up about the future. So a lot of great articles up at DolphinsTalk.com. Check it out there. Follow us on social media, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, Threads at Dolphins Talk. Again, wherever you're listening, subscribe. Hit the subscribe button. Make sure you don't miss an episode. YouTube, smash that like button. It's always appreciated. Again, Wednesday night, Fish Tank Live, Seth Levitt, OJ McDuffie. Thursday, myself and a guest. And after that, we're going to play it by ear for a little bit. But everyone, have a great rest of your Tuesday. If you're listening on Wednesday, have a great Wednesday. We'll talk to you again after a while. And when you're out in the streets driving around, please make sure that we put an end to highway profanity.